Hey, we are here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. Got my main man, Tom Inman, right here. Retired former coach of Grand Prairie, 2006 UIL 5A state champion. And Lady Life, keeping us where we need to be. And my main man, the Prince, Aniu Money, doing it like it does. Man of all trades, jack of all trades. Showing to be fairly good at most. That's what we're doing today. We got a lot on the tab. It's a great day to be in sports here in the state of Texas. We got our hands in a little bit of everywhere. Patrick Mahone shows that gives Tom Brady all he wants.
Man, I'll tell you what, he's got a little bit of Brett Favre in him, like a more careful Brett Favre. He's got some Drew Brees in him.
He tried to squeeze it in there a couple times, just like a Brett Favre, you know.
A little gunslinger.
Yeah, gunslinger. You know, I was talking to the National, I actually didn't even know this entity even existed, the National Association of Retired Basketball Players, not the Players Association. I'm going to be doing a deal here, and I think we may be bringing in all-time leading rebounder, shot blocker, or something out of the University of North Texas, played a lot of years in the NBA that's from the area here. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Last name is Williams. But maybe bring him in for an interview. Got some things going on with Coach Robert Hughes, Hall of Famer. The only high school basketball coach Hall of Famer we have in the state of Texas.
I guess I can't go on Thursday night because they got banned from Stop 6. There's no way that him and Rambo are going to let me in that house. So you can call and let me know if I got a hall pass, but I'm going to expect I'm taking Thursday night off.
Well, no, in actuality, we're not going to be bothering Coach at that hour tonight. We're going to be going over and doing a pre-recorded session with Coach Hall of Fame, Coach Robert Hughes, right before lunch. He still operates a working type schedule, goes to lunch exactly 12 o'clock every day, so we're going to be there with him starting at 10:30 a.m. that morning. And
is he bringing his bodyguard? Is Rambo coming?
We're actually going to be doing it in his place, and there are going to be some of his people there.
Oh, I love those guys. They're all awesome.
Yeah, they're all old guys that play for him. I mean, some of these guys are in their 60s and 70s, but I guess.
I tell people we go so far back with Dunbar from when I was at Plano as the assistant, which is literally like late 80s, early 90s, that I remember when Derek Daniels was skinny. I remember when Rambo didn't have the clown.
Derek Daniels, Mr. Basketball. That's the one we get into the argument with Chris Walker and Derek Daniels and draw a blank. The other kid was at
Derek Daniels reminds me of. I just thought of this. I don't mean to interrupt you. I just thought about this. An uninjured Derrick Rose.
That's not a long.
That's a pretty good comp. Give me credit.
That's a fair. No, that's
no look past is the really, really abrupt first step.
Yeah,
and he
really
was
abrupt,
great player,
strong first step.
He was a bull, man.
See, Doc Rivers had a slick, quick first step.
Right.
But Derek Daniels had a strong. Like in other words, you know it's coming.
Oh, you just he put his chest right here into you.
Yeah,
and just thumped your butt.
Right. Yeah. No, there was no doubt about that. That's not actually a long way from being a true Mr. Basketball. In the class of 1989, sound right? 88, 89, I believe.
Yeah, about right. No. I think it's more like about 87.
87, that's right.
Because 88 and 89 was when you started getting into.
All those guys got to college. Chris Walker was in that group. There was three guys that were considered the best three players.
Right. We looked at that last week. Hey, you want to hear how far back I go with Dunbar players? Believe this or not, I was at University of Illinois when James Griffin. Remember Griff?
James Griffin.
Big old Griff. Griff went to Illinois, which we never understood why the hell a kid from Fort Worth, Texas would end up in Champaign, Illinois, and we know the answer now.
But that goes back
don't get me going.
It goes back to all things sports, all things Texas. The mysterious thing about the state of Texas is that, and I used to tell college coaches this, I learned this when I had a kid off the Milby team that was 40-0, went to the University of Alaska.
Really?
The point guard.
Up in Anchorage, huh?
Yeah, that's right. The point guard off of that team went to Alaska. So I tell guys all the time, you also got to realize 68% of all our Division I prospects end up in out-of-state schools. At their first school, for sure.
Well, that's why, I remember all the way back to my old assistant coach, Baron Brown, who's now a 47-year-old head coach, and I'm 55 and retired. But we were like the first people that were taking these kids a chance to play at like the different camps. Remember Bill BC camp?
BCI.
It was BC, was Bill Cronin. Bill Cronauer ran a camp down in Huntsville. It was the very first year. And so there was two different camps that went on two different places. I can't remember. But it was Jason Walton and Jimmy King's year. And it was the first year those players could get out and be seen like on a national level.
The BCI was the league that allowed them to assemble different high school
but
players.
The camps themselves they were never allowed to go to. And that was that year when they first started letting three players from each team come together.
It was a kid out of Houston's father who made all that possible.
Really? Who's that?
I can't call his name. The kid ended up going to Rice and playing.
It was a tremendous advantage to everybody because what ended up happening was he got exposure because to this day, me and my old man get into this, but my dad still thinks Chicago basketball is superior, which is a joke. I mean, it's not close.
Well, I mean, Chicago and New York got caught up too. They got caught up too by your Floridas, your LAs, your Dallases and your
Yeah,
Houstons.
big time, and that's why
Even your Atlanta Georgias.
I made a list one time, and I don't have my laptop with me because I'm a bonehead and forgot it. But I've got a list of. One time I was sitting around just drinking a beer with some buddies, and we started talking about players we coached against. So I found some little website of Texas high school basketball players, and I went through the list, and I think I've coached against 50 different kids, maybe over the last 50 or 60 kids in the last 30 years that have played in the NBA. I'm talking about played in the NBA, not just college. That's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Right.
There's dozens in the NFL I've coached against in basketball. But when you start thinking, like I was telling someone a story about Myles Garrett. And Myles Garrett's a junior in high school, and I didn't have a chance to scout the game live, right? So I watched 2 games of videotape.
I've heard this story. Go ahead.
And I turned to Barron and I said, I told him I said I didn't have time to scout him live. So when they're dunking, got 2 teammates that are killing it, and he's looking in the rim and dunking. I said, damn, they didn't look this big on tape. Well, who does? I mean, but Myles Garrett looking in the rim a week off a football field.
Yep. Myles Garrett, I believe, played for Big E some during that time, but was always, is what he is as a player. But while we keep on getting basketball Thursday in on here on Tuesday night, we tend to be a little basketball heavy here at the Lone Star Sports Show. Jimmy Butler leadership, leadership/accountability tactics. Is it right or wrong? I'm going to give you a chance to go from there.
Well, I debate back and forth because I know what Jimmy's doing. I know that he's kind of like a grumpy old man. He's sort of Thibodeau stuck in a 30-year-old ripped up brother's body with twisties. Because at the end of the day, he really is a grumpy old man. And he's got a little bit of what Jordan used to have and Kobe had, but he don't give a damn if he pisses everyone off. And we all know he thinks those millennials are soft. I get all that. I don't like the fact he does it publicly. At the end of the day, what I can't stand, and this happens both ways, the players want to call it a business when they get up as a free agent and break everyone's heart. They tell you it's a business. And when the owner cuts you, he tells you it's a business. And everyone seems to forget when they're on the other side of the transaction, it's a business. Jimmy's making $20 million a year. I wish I could say the F word because I would say, and I know Jimmy. Jimmy roomed with Joseph Foles. And Jimmy can kick my ass if he wants to, but I would really tell him to shut the F up. Just shut up and play, man.
Well,
and I'm not trading him. I was talking before the show. There's no way on God, because you know what he did to his trade value? By going public, he put a 40% discount on his head.
Yeah, well, I mean, and he did. I mean, he did that when they started the whole process that late. He came a fire sale type guy. But, you look at the tactic.
But would you trade him for 60 cents on the dollar?
Well, it depends on how many dollars I got and how bad I want to get rid of him. That's just business, like you say. It's business.
Well, but my counter to Jimmy would be, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'll cut you tomorrow. We'll just dissolve your contract, but you take a 40% pay cut.
But there is no dissolving the contract, so it's business. You just told me it was business.
No, hold on.
I mean, we're not in the NFL now. When is the contract?
You can buy people out.
When is the contract not a contract?
You can buy a guy out and release him.
If he agrees to it,
right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we're not going. We're not. I'm not in Jimmy Butler's camp anymore. We're not agreeing to that.
Oh, I understand.
I'll take that.
So
that stuff somewhere else.
My point is what my point is fair is fair, and that was my whole point about both sides. Everyone.
Well, fair is fair. He don't want to play with a bunch of wolves. Jimmy, I got you on this one right here, son. Anytime you sit on the corner of 1960 and Interstate 45 and wait for an old guy to come pick you up, that you might get a scholarship. Just like you knew I had your back then, I still got your back. You trying to tell them so-and-so's that you not going for playing and want to compete for a championship. We all got plenty of money. They'll suck them up and let's go get it. Okay, I'm done with it. Moving right along.
I got no problems, but at the end of the day, if Thibodeau loves it, you know why? Because he's carrying Thibodeau's water for him. Yeah, he's going to yell and scream at those 2 punks and piss them off.
You can piss them off, you can drive and go, and that's the whole deal. That's why it's called leadership and accountability tactics.
That's why I like it. That's the part I like. But I told you I
emailed it to you earlier.
I know, but I have mixed feelings.
Yeah.
I told you I had mixed feelings.
Getting it right here at the Lone Star Sports Show, right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Uncut, just like you want to give it to. I know he's a champion and got a champion. Where's the championship ring? Show him your championship ring, Coach. There he is. He got a championship ring. I got championship players.
I'm not doubting that. I didn't say. Hey, look, don't twist my words now. I'm fully capable of twisting my own damn words. What I said was I got mixed emotions. On one hand, he signed a $20 million contract. Suck it up and play. On the other hand, I get what he's trying to do.
He's trying to motivate for winning, Coach.
Kick him in their ass. But
we're going to win.
But as an owner, I'm not trading him.
Yeah.
Shut up and play.
Well, you don't have to. It's your prerogative of an owner. But one thing, if you do decide you're going to trade him, then you're going to write the check.
If Jimmy really wanted to get traded,
this is not the NFL.
I know, but Jimmy should have just been a little more subtle. He could have gone to Glenn Taylor and Tibbs behind the scenes.
Do you think that? Do you think that there had?
I'm sure he did at some point.
At some point, that before it came, Jimmy's always been a polite.
So he probably had to front him up.
Yeah, it got all the way down to the point they said it wasn't, so he just said, I'll let you know how I feel.
But what I do
I'm going to turn this thing the way I want it to turn.
Now let's flip the last part, which I love, because I love his irreverence, because Jimmy's a very irreverent person. You'd agree with that. He don't give a damn. If you like him, you don't care about the rules, none of that stuff. And the other day when they asked him, they said, do you think they're going to boo you? And he goes, Of course. Like, I mean, I like that he gets it. The average pro would have done all that crap and then expected. J.R. Smith would act that way and then expect you to cheer for him.
Because, Coach, he's not a crybaby.
He don't
Coach,
care, right? He don't care about your approval.
We got Cowboy Snoop and Ranger Ross on here. Hey, let's have a quick moment of silence for Ranger Ross and the Texas Rangers out in Arlington, Texas, out there with the Go Mavericks and all that. That's long enough. How about them Astros there, Ranger Ross?
Boy, you walked into that shit, didn't you, Snoop?
Coach, you're about 3 weeks late.
Coach, I had to get you when I can get you.
we done been on vacation. We already back home.
Y'all already back home from fishing already, huh? Y'all got everything at the taxidermy already, taxidermy shop.
We threw it to vacation. I'm sitting there taking my daughter to cheerleading practice, enjoying the Lonestar Sports Show. When she say, I didn't even realize, she say she still watches the show, and she just saw all the segments. but I'm sitting there lining up, and I got to call in to say that I need Coach Tom Inman to stop letting Alan Branch cut him off while he's talking.
All right. No, I'm going to start being a bully. I thought about that, Snoop. I'm too freaking polite, man. I wish if I cursed more, if you let me drink, this wouldn't happen. If you let me have cocktails here, that shit wouldn't happen, Snoop.
All I know, Tom, did Tom text you to ask for some help?
Hey, hold on a second. I don't need his help.
I need to try to get him some help.
I don't need no one's help.
We're right here on the Lonestar Sports Show right here. We're about to go to break. We got Ranger Ross in morning while the Astros get down there, get ready to get it figured out. Kershaw get ready to get it all going and lined up.
You got Cowboy Snoop coming off a victory. This is Cowboy Snoop.
Oh, Cowboy Snoop.
He's all chesty, man. All kinds of chesty now.
We haven't even gotten to that. They're coming into the next segment. You're right here on the Lonestar Sports Show. Today's show is brought to you by FastModelSports.com. Today's show is also right here in the heart of North Texas. All things sports, all things Texas. Tom Inman, assistant coach Royce Snoop Johnson. Cowboy Snoop he wants to be today. Lady Life over there keeping us between the lines, and my main man, the Prince, and yours truly, Alan Branch. Back in 180 seconds with more of the Lonestar Sports Show.
Hartem Hotels. Make money where you and millions of others spend money. Hartem Hotels Investment and Development Group's primary disciplines include hotel acquisitions, hotel development, hotel project management, as well as asset and partnership management. At Hartem Hotels, we invest in upscale focused service and extended stay hotel properties, mainly in Texas and other major urban markets. We are hotel owners, developers, investors, and asset managers persistent in our pursuit of successful ventures and passionate about our products. We provide nationally branded investment opportunities, including Hilton, Marriott, and Hyatt hotel franchises. Hartem Hotels strategically places the right product in the right location for the right customer. Get started with us today. Visit us online at www.hartemhotels.com. Hartem Hotels, put your money where you sleep.
Back here in Oak Cliff, Texas, giving it to you like it is. All things sports, all things Texas, right here on the Lonestar Sports Show. Provided to you by the Lonestar Sports Network, which is actually our headline sponsor and company in this process. And Ranger Ross just ran out the door. Didn't want to get any Cowboy Snoop. He want to go back over there and chime in. They ride and stuck in traffic.
He'll call back.
If they say he'll call back, he didn't want to take his medicine. That's what the whole deal was on that. Didn't want to take his medicine. That was the whole angle on that. But we're gonna let him slide. But today's show is brought to you by FastModelSports.com. FastModelSports.com is located in Chicago, Illinois, where they are leading basketball into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology. Don't be surprised if you don't see the Lone Star Sports Show involved with Fast Small Sports and other sports as technology continues to move along and do what it does the way it does. But we are right here getting it in. We are in the middle of Tuesday right here on a cold, rainy evening where things are doing what they do. I think we dropped all the way down. We haven't gotten into the 30s, but we've been at like 41 or 42.
Right there.
Cold and chilly, doing what it does. I think we just got our guy joining in, and we can't do any more basketball right now. It's Tuesday. It's not basketball Thursday. It is Tuesday when we are focused on Dallas Cowboys, UT Longhorns. What's going on? Who's going to be in the top 4 in the playoffs, or will be in the part of that Power 5 football championship? We got a hot evening. We got Dinos Trodonos coming in from out at Pango's camp that was here in town this past weekend. But right now, without any further ado, we got controversial Cox, Jimmy Cox, the commissioner of Oak Cliff, Texas.
What's going on, Coach?
Man, we right here, boy. We got more sports and more controversy than we have in 96 minutes of content right here on the Lone Star.
Hey, Cox, I want to warn you, he's been really just licking his lips waiting for this phone call. Right? I mean, he's just been sitting here rubbing his hands waiting for you to eat a big-ass crow pie, and I probably need to eat some with you. Now, the only question is, who's going to show up next week, Jekyll or Hyde?
Well, here's my deal. I didn't say how about them Cowboys. I said how about these Cowboys.
Well, it depends which one you're getting.
Yeah,
if you have that team 10 more games this season, you can make a deep run. But if my aunt had male appendages, she'd be my uncle.
Coach, she had a mustache as appropriate.
Oh, there you go. That's fair.
We take victories any way we can take.
Oh no, absolutely. You should because my Bears choked.
We just need to remember that was the Jacksonville Jaguars without their Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, well, that was Jacksonville Jaguars, one of the top defenses, number 1, 2, or 3 defenses in the NFL. Too controversial, Cox.
Not actually, Coach. I mean,
okay, clean me up.
That's not exactly the Jaguars. I mean, Coach, we were on that day.
No, we were on that day, but I'm talking about statistically on paper. Where does the Jacksonville Jaguars defense rank in the NFL?
Well, Sunday they rank.
No.
They ranked 32nd for
They ranked 34th out of 32, huh?
Yeah, they're 34 out of 32.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Jaguars are probably a top 5 defense.
That's about 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
I've heard 1 and 2, but we go for top 5.
Yeah, Bears are number 1.
We're all talking about a defense who just played in the AFC Championship game last year and almost beat the New England Patriots. That's a very good defense.
Right.
I mean, very good. One of the best in the league for sure.
And that is, and I mean, I'm gonna go out. You know, we got a lot of things to talk about, and like I say, the topic right now is we have controversial Cox, the commissioner of Oak Cliff Sports, on the line with us right now. Multiple state championships at Kimball High School as a director of basketball operations and player personnel development and recruiting and anything else. I think we're outside of our statute of limitations now.
Can't take it back now.
We have to be real quiet. We don't want to be in trouble.
Hey, let's call Charlie Bright up in on this one. This could get interesting, man. Let's talk.
Yeah, go dig up go dig up Brett Ship and see where he is right about now.
That's a big win for us. I'm still not 100% sold that we're where we are, but we're going to take victories as we get victories.
Yeah.
We're going to take victories as we get victory, but there's a lot of football left to play, and I'm just not sure if we are where we are.
Well, one thing I don't believe in Commissioner Cox. One thing I don't believe in is the comparative score thing. Like, I'm not saying that you did that, but like if A beats B by 20 points and B beats C by 20, A is not 40 points better than C. I spent years trying to get high school kids not to buy into that crap because that cost us games because they'd play accordingly, and I just think you got to be a little careful because like there are some teams that are 3-2 that's a good 3-2. There are some teams that are a fake 4-1.
That's your rivalry thing.
Right.
I mean, University of Texas Longhorns come into the Red River Shootout.
It's personal, right? Sure.
It's
personal.
It changes the whole deal. And maybe you just back the Cowboys up against the wall. I'm going to go a step further. I totally agree 110% with what you're talking about the A, B, C thing, comparisons and understand any given day, in the NFL, and you've got to have the ability, if there's ever a time that NFL stands not for long. Well, in this situation right now, you don't have but 3 days, 72 hours to prepare and adjust and get ready for your next opponent, because what you did last week
means
had nothing the next week. Would you agree with that, Cox?
No, I mean it's over.
Yeah.
I mean they celebrated that night, and it's back to work, because you got to deal with the Washington Redskins.
Well, and I thought about Parcells when he says, you are what your record says you are. Not what you did last Sunday, but what your record says you are. And
That's,
so
that's your body of work.
It's better. Yeah, your body of work, and that's fair. That it's an uptick, it's an upsurge, it's encouraging. But let's not – I mean, Dallas fans are famous for 2 losses, and we want to hang Jerry from the main rafter at AT&T Stadium. And if we win 2 in a row, we want to go schedule, airline flights to the Super Bowl. They're a little bit overreactionary,
I would have been more comfortable about our victory Sunday had we won by a touchdown or so.
Yeah, blowing them out actually didn't help you. It really probably didn't help you long term.
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars came in probably more overconfident than any team that we played, and less prepared for us than any team the rest of the season. I really do. I don't think they took us serious. I think you had there's a lot going on in that defense. You had Church, who played horrible. You had a hometown kid, Deshaun Gibson, back there. I just think they didn't really take us serious at all, and we came out and had a good start. And Dak had one of his best games of the year.
And they may take that out on Houston next week. I was looking at the schedule.
The thing that kills me is the local kid from up north. Can't even think which high school he's at. Allen High School, the receiver, number 11.
From which team?
For the Cowboys, the receiver, number 11.
I didn't know that a kid from Allen.
Yeah, he's straightening the groin. He's straightening his groin this weekend. You know what I'm talking about? What's his name, Coach? Cox. What's his name, Cox? You know what I'm talking about? Oh, we just lost him. Got the music. We just lost controversial Cox. I don't know why I can't call the receiver. He was the leading receiver this past weekend.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Coach. I'm in.
Yeah, what's the receiver I'm trying to call, number 11? The little fast kid. He's small in stature. I'm trying to keep from saying the white kid, but the kid.
Cole Beasley, not Allen. He's from Little Elm. Beasley.
Oh, he is from Little Elm, just north of Allen.
Yeah,
right.
up by Denton area.
Yeah, right. I thought you saw the way they were able to utilize him. I hate that he's throwing groin, because groins usually just don't go away, especially in football season. All the cold weather's so hard to get.
And as soon as you lose 1/10, you can't separate. Like he did.
Right. And that's part of his strength, is his ability to separate, because he's not going to do anything with physicality.
Cole Beasley did Sunday what Cole Beasley has been capable of doing the entire time he's been with the Cowboys.
I agree.
I thought Linehan finally did something that made sense.
We just finally got Cole Beasley the ball. We finally got him an opportunity to be open.
Getting speed and space. The two S's, speed and space.
I'm still not 100% sold that we are where we need to be. I think playing the Jaguars that well and winning was good. Cole Beasley had a big game for us. A couple of receivers made some big plays. Dak still, I think, is a little slow on these releases. I don't want to see the Jaguars again anytime soon. If we make some of those passes against Josh Norman Sunday, we're going to be in trouble.
Well, one of the things, too, that I really believe in watching the NBA, if you watch the NFL season, is that they're going to have the dominoes. It's going to be the adjustments. Okay, so now next week they're going to guard Cole a little stronger. Who comes up and steps up to replace him a little bit? That's, I think, the biggest issue.
Linehan is your offensive coordinator, right? Okay, he showed a higher level of creativity this week of getting one of the things I believe in is speed and space and lack of predictability.
Motion to create mismatches, right?
Those are the two things that you have to constantly adjust. The one thing, we got a championship basketball coach here, we got the commission on the line, and got 2 basketball scouts in the studio here. Go ahead.
But AB, one thing about a lot of that coaching was front loaded with a 20-point lead. A lot of that coaching, Sunday was front loaded. A lot of the risk, a lot of being relaxed.
Yeah, you're right. It's easy to be ballsy when you're up.
It's easy to be ballsy when you're up 2 touchdowns or whatever. What we got to see us do is come back like what we seen last night. We got to see a young kid like Mahomes from Kansas City when you're up there and the lights are bright and he's down 3 touchdowns. That's what we got to see before we know we're locked into something.
Well, and I think the consistency of the offensive lines was critical, because that offensive line played like a team I didn't see for the last couple of weeks before that game.
They've been adjusted to injuries. People don't realize this is the one thing that people totally underestimate. They think that those 5 guys are just up there just blocking whoever's there. that center is responsible for as much information
All the calls, yeah.
and the calls as the quarterback is responsible for.
Well, and it doesn't even matter if you got a great 5 because what you really need is about 8 because you've got to be able to rotate some people even if it's not injuries, just on fatigue.
But it's 2 different units of blocking schemes. That 5 has a blocking scheme that they're maintaining, which obviously attaches to the other 6 guys on the field, the other 5 guys that are responsible for executing that particular play. But when you look at it, you have to give some credit. They lost, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner. They lost 2 of their starting offensive linemen. One to illness that we talked about on the show earlier when it happened, and then another one to injury. Both of them. Go ahead.
And Charles and Smith is not 100%.
Right.
He's just back.
Right.
But again, those guys work very hard up there. But sometimes we have to create some things to make their life and entry a little bit easier. Some of these long routes where they have to hold for a longer gets really tough.
Right. Shorten everything up, make it quicker. Right.
When we are downhill blocking for Zeke, it makes their life a whole lot easier.
And play action works when you do that too.
Play and scheme to your personnel. Don't try to make your personnel match your scheme. We get ready to go for a break right here at the Lone Star Sports Show, right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. This particular segment was brought to you by Fast Models product, Fast Model, Fast Recruit. Go take a look at fastmodelsports.com and go see how you as a college coach or you as a prospect are being used by Fast Recruit to enhance and deliver the process or the recruiting process for roughly about 300 Division I schools in the United States of America. We guys right here on the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network here, hot in the cliff with the commissioner of the cliff, Controversial Cox, my main man, champion high school basketball coach, Tom Inman, Lady Life keeping us where we're supposed to be, Honey the Prince doing it like it does, and yours truly, Alan Branch. Hey, here we are live right here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. All things sports, all things Texas. You know where you go and anywhere you want to take a look at it. If you're talking about winning championships, Texas is going to have a hand in it some kind of way or another. Coaching it, playing it, owning it, doing whatever you want to do. obviously we were finna key in on what is the commitment that Jerry Jones is expressing about Jason Garrett. What does that actually say? But we got into a little heated debate here. I just can't get around. I just don't want to leave it. I think, Commissioner, I needed you early in segment 1, but I tried to.
The scab's open, Commiss. You tore the scab open, baby. We're bleeding all over the damn place.
I got you. I wish I could get Snoop Johnson back here so he could take a little of this medicine too. But with what you see Jimmy Butler going and doing demands accountability and is a leadership tactic. Did I sense somewhere at the break in our open forum and discussion that was kind of what you were going along with there, Cox?
Hey, time out. I'm going to take Snoop's advice right now, and I'm going to interrupt. See, there's two issues here that you're taking and rolling them together. One of them is leadership, getting in people's ass and making them accountable, and the other one's demanding a trade. They're two different things. They don't go hand in hand.
We're not talking about demanding trade. We're talking about going back into the practice after you denied him the trade, and he said, okay, you're going to make me play with these guys, then I'm going to have to get them right so we can go win.
No, from that point forward, I'm fine with anything Jimmy does. You say whatever you want to them kids. Who cares?
No, bullshit. I told you earlier.
Bottom line is Jimmy Butler says, hey, when he came, you told this kid that he was the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You fell in love with these other two AAU All-Stars.
Yeah, boy, you said that's what they are.
And now he get out here and you done pay these AAU All-Stars max money because the bar in Minnesota right now is not to win a championship. The bars are just trying to make the playoffs.
Right.
Butler in his career is at a point to where
it's about
championship. It's about championship.
Hey, Jimmy's 30 now. He ain't a kid no more.
Yeah, so now all of a sudden, this guy, you're telling that you're coming to win a championship. You put him in here and pay max money to AAU All-Stars, and that's why he talked to them and handled them like the punks that they are. There's no way in the world another grown man allow somebody to come into that practice facility and talk to them the way Jimmy Butler talked to those
and then take the third string guys and beat the shit, beat the hell out of you.
So he turned around and looked at the owners and said, okay, this your shit. This is what you want to do it. But I'm going to whoop your ass for nothing and let you know that these AAU All-Stars that you have are trash.
Yeah.
Now, I deserve max money. You want to play bullshit with me and not give me max money, then I'm going to make this going to be what the life is.
This the platform I'm going to file for.
Because before it's over, he'll be telling them who to play with, who not to play with. He'll be saying, hey, I'll beat these two in practice while they start. It's going to be an absolute mess.
It's accountability.
But, you know, one thing that I call it the cheating wife syndrome. If you're single and you meet a woman who's married and she steps out with you, she's going to cheat on you. It's just a matter of time. So can you really trust that Jimmy's not going to go batshit crazy the next time things don't go his way?
I don't think that's
Butler's
issue.
I love Jimmy, but that's a fair question to ask.
If Jimmy Butler felt like these two guys could win and were committed to winning other than just getting
we wouldn't be
having
this conversation.
I agree.
These are not Kyrie Irvings who want to win by any means necessary. These are not.
He's frustrated with these guys. I've got inside.
Oh no, he's old school.
No, he's old school. He's frustrated with these dudes coming in after a loss, and these guys getting their individual statistics stat sheet. And analyzing and looking where they are after we just got through getting beat.
Well, that's why Cox was right about AAU All-Americans, AAU,
All-Stars.
All-Stars.
Yeah. So this guy's just sitting there saying, we're supposed to be about winning. You told me we were coming here about winning, and you're going to pay max money and not give me max. All of a sudden, you're on a budget. And you're watching your money when it comes to pay me, and you need me to win, but you pay max money to guys that don't even care about winning in your organization.
Right.
That's what Butler's issue is.
Great point, and I actually can validate that point. And the funniest thing is what I'm saying about this situation is not coming from Jimmy Butler. It's coming from the other camp or the All-Stars.
Right, but let me ask you a question just real quick.
AAU All-Stars, you call it.
Real quick. First of all, I agree with everything you said. Second of all, I'm from a player's perspective, I always think of it that way. And third of all, I'm an old school hard ass.
You a player's coach, or what were you a coach?
Yeah, I'm always down with my players. The hell with everyone else.
Okay.
But the whole thing that comes down to one other thing though is that I am a player's coach. But if you were the owner or you were the coach, would you trade him? Of course you wouldn't, because you'd have to fire sale him because Jimmy called your hand. If Jimmy's just doing it to piss people off, then that's a further example of great leadership. But if Jimmy thinks he's going to get traded because he doesn't like his teammates, then he's being an AAU All-Star. Because you're getting paid $20 million a year, and I understand you being mad.
I'm not suggesting that Jimmy handled it the proper way.
Right, okay, that's all I'm saying. I don't want you to suggest I don't think they're respected.
I'm not necessarily sure. Is there a proper way for being honest with you?
Right. All means necessary, Coach. If you about winning, all means necessary. That's the whole thing.
In reference to all means necessary.
There we go. I thought you.
And being disappointed. doing it. Let's talk about the bad rumor that Jason Garrett is possibly getting extended after this.
He had one good half, and he gets a lifetime contract.
And one good half with a 20-point lead, and he gets a lifetime contract.
It's the scariest thing going. Thank God Jerry came up quickly and said, hey, that's not necessarily true. We're not going to start taking family pictures or whatever. Luckily Jerry jumped into that, because you got to remember something. These next games, this is what Jason's up against. We play the Redskins. If just from a coaching matchup, not just teams coaching, he plays the Redskins. He goes against Gruden. Gruden is Jason Garrett, a cheap version of Jason Garrett. One is Family Dollar, other one is Dollar General. Both of them are.
I'm sorry, man, it's good.
Both of these guys are below average guys. They're cheap guys. They have no success. They got high profile jobs. The only difference is that Gruden is probably going to get fired if he doesn't make it to the playoffs this year, and Jason Garrett may get a chance to keep his job.
I don't think they can afford to fire Gruden. Well, go ahead.
No, not John Gruden. He's talking Jay Gruden.
Jay
Right.
Gruden.
No, Jay
Right.
Gruden. I think of the last year of his contract.
It's the last year of his contract. Right. He has to win. He's going to get fired. Both marginal guys. So this contest Sunday is going to be with two marginal coaches, two marginal coaching staffs. So we can play with that a little bit, but it's a rivalry. Then he plays against the Titans with a guy, first-year coach with some issues, with a young team with some injuries. So we got a chance there if we got our stuff. But then it gets interesting. Then he's got to play the Eagles with a Super Bowl champion coach. He's got to come back with the Falcons with another Super Bowl coach. Then he got to go back and play sorry-ass Gruden. And then you got to go back and play Sean Payton.
Yeah, Gruden coming here on they got the Redskins come Thanksgiving Day. Right. That's not the game you want to lose. From
a coach-on-coach deal. That makes this game a must-win for us.
Well, a lot of people can't. I mean, the casual fan can't figure that out. That's way too much calculating. And you say coach on coach, and that's a good way of communicating. I'm not saying you're right. And I look at it as more staff on staff. People totally underestimate the preparation and how this thing gets organized and run and prepared for week to week, and the adjustments that are made. That's why it goes back. That's why the Cowboys have been so lethargic and goofy and like we didn't have enough talent, didn't have enough this. We don't have great talent, but I said early that you're looking at somewhere between an 8-8 and a 10-6 type team, talent-wise, if coached appropriately. At the same time, if not coached appropriately, you could end up being 6-10
very easily.
But if that's the work doesn't go into adjusting. The NFL, man, if you ever want to be around one of these situations, you need to go in. I'm not talking about when the players are there. You need to go into a NFL office, and I'm not talking about the front office. I'm talking about the office where all the analytics, where all the coaching, where all the people are, where all the big, huge screens are, and look at how things are being broken down and getting to the whiteboard to create a game plan and prepare for the next opponent, the scouting. So you have two different types of scouting. You have personnel scouting, is find the best players, and you have preparation scouting, which you did to win games all the time.
Game scouting, right.
You send your JV coach to go find out what they're running,
cut up some tape, and come up with what you're going to try to do.
But I believe Jason Garrett is probably
how good
better
is
at that. I think he's probably better than that than most.
Okay.
The reality of I think he's one of the, probably from an aptitude intellect perspective, one of the smartest guys in football.
He's an Ivy League graduate. Let's give him credit.
Yeah,
Cox, let me ask you a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you think he makes game adjustments?
That's a different. Go ahead.
That's a totally different scenario.
Totally different animal.
Okay.
We talk about it all the time.
I'm complimenting on the preparation of what he thinks may or may not happen.
Okay.
The problem is winners. Mm-hmm. The winners are the guys who are able to do it on the spot, in the gut, and they're used to it.
In basketball, we call it bench coaches. Bench coaches versus guys that can analyze. But here's the deal. There's a little bit of thing that goes in there. Now, I'll interject this. I got a championship coach sitting here. We got Commissioner Cox on the phone. You're right here on the Lone Star Sports Show, getting it broke down to you and given to you like it's supposed to be. In the cliff.
Can I add one thing right quick?
Go ahead, Coach.
I had the pleasure of coaching with Snoopy for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think he is a good example of, I think people would always talk about the level of talent that we would have at Kimball. And they would always talk about, I don't think people appreciate, though, he was prepared for games, but he was more prepared for situations. His ability to adjust in situations
right.
and be prepared
That's
for
what I'm talking about.
situations
That's what I'm talking about.
made
bench
him
coach.
a championship coach. He knew everything to do prepare. We were prepared for it. But what made him a champion was his ability to do it at any given time and adjust and throw whatever
on the
he
fly.
had prepared for.
Out the window.
If he had prepared for something, he could throw this shit out the window and move and go. And that's what made him a champion. I don't think we necessarily have that as a Cowboy coach.
Well,
so
you got that. But
go back to my question, though. What's your rating of him as an adjustment coach? Because I agree with you. Intellectually, he's very smart.
Let's just get the elephant out of the room. None of us think he knows what the hell he's doing once they kick the ball off. Okay, let's be clear about that. Don't waste a bunch of airtime on it.
No, there's a point I'm getting at, though. Hold on. But so week by week, when the league adjusts better than he adjusts, like, do you think that Cole Beasley's going to come wide open next week? I don't.
Absolutely not.
I just don't. But see, if everyone adjusts faster than Jason week by week, I'm not talking game by game. I'm talking week by week. You're always behind.
But that's the point. But the deal is, okay, it's one thing you can be the rabbit or you can be the dog in these situations, you know. And when you're the rabbit, a lot of times you're making adjustments when they do something and throw something at you. But also when you're the dog in this situation knows how to fool. The dog knows how to fool the rabbit. See, there's some craftiness that goes in that I jump out and show you that I'm expecting this. One thing I give him right now, and why he still lived, I give him his accolades. I was coached by Rabbit Thomas, but I was also coached by another coach named Willie Price at Roosevelt High School, retired at Roosevelt High School. Tremendous coach, played in the NFL, coached me as a kid. He used to always talk about me, and when we have our meetings as a quarterback, is, Branch, where do you think the element of surprise is this week? You got to find the unpredictable point and know, is it 1 point, 2 points, 3 points? You got to constantly keep these things going. That's why they had so much success with the play action pass.
But AB, the problem is that as a coach, every head coach has to have a thumbprint of what he is to the team. So if you look at, Gruden is an offensive guy. Titans guy's a defense. Peterson's an offensive guy. Quinn's a defensive guy. I mean, so on. Sean Payton. We don't know what Jason is. He used to be an offensive coordinator, but we don't see any of that. So it's not. We've
already exposed what he is. He's a very intelligent, analytical genius. We get the same thing going on in basketball, and there's a lot of controversy about it and which guys you can win with. When we come back, we're going to break this thing down. There's the next segment with the Cowboys. We got the Commissioner Cox right here giving it to us like it is on the Lone Star Sports Show, Lone Star Sports Network. All things sports, all things Texas. This particular segment is brought to you by the Robert Hughes Hall of Fame Showcase. That'll be Thanksgiving weekend, Friday and Saturday, right there at the Fort Worth ISD Gym on Interstate 20. We will be doing it like it is for another hour and a half. We got 5 more segments. We're going to go one more segment on Cowboy. We got controversial Cox, the Commissioner Oak Cliff, laying it out and trying to project which way this thing goes. We know a long-term commitment to Jason Garrett does not put the Cowboy fans where they want to be. My man, Tom Emman, Alan Branch, Lady Life, and The Prince, Honor Your Money, back with controversial Cox in just 180 more seconds. Hey, here we are back here with the Lone Star Sports Show. I'm sure Controversial Cox never even let off the gas there. You ever see when them guys jump on and off the freeway? Never got off the gas. He did not park it, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all missed the best of Controversial Cox, the Oak Cliff commissioner, giving it to us like it is on these Dallas Cowboys. We right here, and we talking about these Dallas Cowboys. We're not talking about them Cowboys, because them Cowboys was back when Jimmy was winning Super Bowls. These Cowboys are the Cowboys. We trying to figure out what in the world is really going on, what's going to happen next. Right now, we still got the top of the 7th. The Red Sox still lead the Astros. That is way too close down in the Bayou City, down in Minute Maid Park, down right there on Interstate Highway. Actually, it is Interstate 59 now, doing what they're doing now. We kind of on all things sports, and the Astros to come back and get headed towards this World Series situation. Well, I don't know if we could have a chance to play the Brewers or the Dodgers, but right now we got to take care of these Red Sox. We went up there and got one at their place, and we lost one up there. Now we come back. We got 3 of them right here in a row. So, you know, we got to lay it down on them while we got them down here, because going back to Boston against what they call it, Big Green Monster.
Yeah, well, you'd like to sweep it out and end it here, but I think the guys would probably settle for 2 out of 3. Settle for 2 out of 3.
You settle for 2 out of 3.
And all you got to do is go home and split, or go on the road and split.
And then bring it back to the house here we can celebrate. I might even ride down. We might go down there and do the Lone Star Sports Show on the spot right there.
I have an amazing amount of time these days.
they call that retired.
I like it, man. I like it.
We got a man, Cox, sitting here lined up. Commissioner Cox, we broke it all the way down. I think we got to a point. We kind of beat around the bush on it a little bit. But in actuality, you know, and I won't say some of the things that y'all call Jason Garrett at the break. They might not be appropriate for FCC airwaves, but in actually, we talking about a very intelligent, analytical, Ivy League guy, has the ability. But if you look, he's not a chance taker. He's not going to do anything out of the that's unpredictable. And to me, that kills him in the leadership of this team. That's my problem. Cox, got Jimmy Cox.
Jason,
Go ahead.
This is how it goes.
Okay.
Jason Garrett gets 10. He becomes 10-6. He gets a contract extension. It's just that it's simple.
He already let you know he was headed that way today. Yesterday.
10-6. He gets a contract extension. He's. I mean, this is the weakest year. He could end up very easily as the second best team in the NFC East, very easily, because I do believe that the Eagles now are figuring it out.
I do
They're
too.
putting it back together, and I think we're going to start seeing them really turn this thing back on. They're getting healthy. They were really beat up. I think you're going to see the Eagles. So, you know, the Giants are gone. We don't know what's going on with them, and it's us.
Yeah, we know what's going on. But go ahead.
I'm going to be honest with you. You got 2 coaches in the NFC East that one of them's going to get fired, because one of them's going to end up in 3rd place and get fired. So that's just the way it is. The coach in the Giants is not going to get fired. He's new. So one of these coaches, the Cowboys or the Redskins, one of those 2 head coaches are going to get fired.
Probably
so
their timetable makes them, you know.
Well, they're vulnerable because they haven't really produced much of anything. Let's be honest, right?
They haven't produced absolutely nothing. We got a brand new coach in the Giants. We got a Super Bowl champion in the Eagles, and we got 2 guys who've never accomplished anything since they've been head coaches in the NFC East. But one of these 2 guys are going to get fired this year, and both of them are playing this week, this Sunday's game. Every time they play each other, they're playing which one of us.
They're playing for their job.
But
you know, playing for their job.
The way the Branch described this, the whole thing when he gave the accolades, the things that Garrett does well, and then we all ripped on what he doesn't do well. What that sounds like to me is a guy that should be in the front office, where you have 6 months to analyze and take your time and pore over video and do research. And it goes, because he vapor locks like an old engine did. He vapor. You could see it in his eyes. He vapor locks.
Well, he doesn't vapor lock. It's just not enough time for his analytical approach.
Well,
at that
he needs
time.
to speed up because the game don't slow down.
Well, the thing is, and you know, I can talk about it, football, basketball. You know, both of them had a reasonable amount of involvement.
Jason Garrett has a place in football. Jason Garrett actually probably has a place in the Cowboy organization, but to win,
it's not with a headset on.
To win, it just goes back to this simply. An extension of Jason Garrett means that we're okay with being above.
It confirms
average.
mediocrity.
It confirms it, and we're. Jason Garrett's. I don't see Jason right now getting us to where we want to get to. So that's just what it is. We don't have a first round draft pick as a quarterback. You know, to be honest with you, I think this whole season depends on Jason and what Jason does. Because right now, this is an easy season for Jerry to blow it all up. He's got Zeke, time for an extension. He's got Dak, time for extension. He's got DeMarcus Lawrence, and he's got a coach at the end of his contract.
He's got a lot of movable parts.
It's got a lot of movable parts. So their performance, all these people's performance depends on what direction Jerry Jones is going to go next.
I'd like
to
ask Jerry one simple question. Hey, Jerry, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right?
The problem is he thinks he's right.
I know that's the point. That's my point. He's going to
he's
going to re-up Jason Garrett. He's going to dig his heels in with Dak Prescott.
I'm not 100% sure.
Team.
I'm not 100% sure that Jerry is as into Jason
as we like to believe. Right. I believe. No.
I sincerely believe.
But the one thing about it is
he's got a.
I know
he's got one thing about Jerry is that he's not going to make a move unless he has a lock on who's going to make to replace him.
That's my point. You took my point. That's exactly. I mean, I'm around high-level college basketball, and I operate a company called Sports Resources. Whenever there's about to be some movement and coaching changes, there's already a viable list.
Everybody has a list.
Yeah.
My high school AD had a list of every sport.
Right, and that's the whole deal. When you got any kind of leader, that's interesting to see. Praises to your high school.
Troy Matthew always had a working list of every sport.
Yeah, and that's the whole deal. And because Troy Matthews had a lot of college experience too, he acted in the SWAC and did some things there. So he had been a college AD too, I believe, at Grambling or Southern, one of the
Grambling, yeah.
Right. So his perspective was different than most high school people. But somebody like Jerry, and it's just like Cox is saying, is they're not. You don't fire somebody in an organization without a plan of how you're going to move forward.
All right, but let me hijack this real quick. All right, so you're the agents representing.
Jason makes more money than most CEOs of Fortune 500 companies.
Okay.
All right.
You don't just pull the trigger there without having a plan B and C in place in order to do it. Mm-hmm. Now, do I think there's a hot seat? Yes. Do I think there's a short list for Jerry out there? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think, but there's so many.
I'm intrigued
things.
by what you just said.
But Cox, I got a question for you.
Jerry.
Hey, Cox, that was my whole question. If you're the agents for, say, you let the top 5 agents, let's say the top 5 free agent college coaches, whoever they are, or pro coaches, whoever they are, I don't care. I wouldn't even know how to make the list. But let's say you were the agent for those 5 hot people. Would you really want to get involved in this mess?
You get involved in it for the very reason that everybody gets involved.
Money, of course, money.
Because
you might never give it a second chance. But if you had a choice, maybe let me reframe the question.
I mean, let's be honest. If Charlie Strong picked the worst time to become the coach of the University of Texas behind one of the greats, but who turns down $5 million a year? So
okay, but let me reframe the question. Given a choice, let's say that each one of the 3 guys that Jerry wanted the most had a choice between coaching the Cowboys and then somebody else.
And he's going to make $10 million either way.
Doesn't his track record say stay away because he's over-involved and he's
we know. Everybody here knows that.
Okay, so what are you going to get until Jerry dies? You're going to get one more puppet. A puppet replaces a puppet. Doesn't mean shit.
The problem with the coaching tree of none of the guys within coaching trees will ever be on the short list. So you're not going to have the Parcells tree, the Belichick tree.
No Jimmy Johnson, right?
The Shula, Jimmy Johnson, all those coaching trees.
Have all said, don't touch Jerry.
But Jerry's like in that regard. Jerry's like the football coach or the athletic director who makes the assistant coach, like I was at Plano and like Barron was at Grand Prairie. They make you the head basketball coach because they can kind of bully you a little bit and say, see, I made you a head coach and I can unmake you a head coach. And there's that leverage thing and that's a lot of leverage. I can give you an $8 million a year job or I can make you miserable.
So if you're Jerry Johnson and Jimmy Johnson, if you're Jerry Jones and you know that's your reality, that's why it's hard for you to pull the trigger as quick as you can.
Or you may as well keep this puppet because what guarantees you're going to have an improvement? Because one of my arguments about firing coaches is make sure that whatever you got, your plan B, is better than your plan A. Because if your plan B is worse than your plan A, then why the hell are you firing the guy?
Well, that's the whole point of where we are. But and we get ready to wind it down on the Cowboys and we get ready to move into it. No, Commissioner Cox got to go in. What's the day? Tuesday night. They'll get a night off. We got to go spend some time with the wife. So I'm
out, man. But I just want to say thanks for having me on here tonight. Look, the Cowboys are a good team.
They're a solid team. They're a solid middle of the road team.
Middle of the road
talent team that they could potentially sneak into the playoffs at a 9-7.
I can't say again. Each week is a big week. And when we look at our games, we got to look at what coaches that we're facing. One of these 2 coaches that's going to play each other this week is not going to have a job next year with these teams.
Yeah, well, and we're going to put that on the record, and there's a very high probability that you're right. Statistically, you probably are right when you look at it in theory. I mean, anything can happen. It's still at the bottom of the 7th. The Red Sox still lead the Astros 3-2 We got barn burner going on down there. I haven't had a chance to take a look and see what's going on in the pitching, but I'm sure it's getting pretty interesting down there with the Astros right now.
One out, nobody on. Let's see. Right now, the pitchers are. I got that real quick. Give me a second. I'm kind of close.
But the thing we have to look at is the one thing that I want to say to Cowboy fans, and I say to myself, and I say to you all as my friends and Cowboy Snoop and all the other people in our chat line and group, is the fact of you got to prepare and adjust week to week, especially when you don't have. Ezekiel Elliott is the only dominant high-level player that's a top 2 or 3 at his position.
That you can just force down their throat.
That you can force down their throat. And you can't even force him down your throat if you're not creative enough with your other parts.
Well, if you only run on first and second, you only pass on third, you're set up for a lot of problems.
Well, I mean, you got to just keep some balance, man. You just got to it's
unpredictability.
It's constantly looking. If he's cheating in this way, we're going to take him this way. If he's cheating out that way, we're going to go inside of him this way. You got to constantly be adjusting the situation to see what makes sense. I mean, if you sit here and look at the way this show goes, Honey and Lady Life don't just sit there and look at us the whole time. They're constantly messing with knobs and adjusting according to the situation. If we start talking too loud, they turn us down. We start talking too low, they turn us up. When it's time for us to take a break, they turn the music on. That's what you have to do when you're running a program and a team, and you can't sit there and do it in some program-type way because things have to be adjusted. And Commissioner Cox, you know.
Can you imagine what the adjustments was like in Kansas City at that time?
That's what I'm talking about. That's real stuff right there. When you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes on one side, and then you got Tom Brady on the other side, and you got the two borderline Hall of Fame coaches, not borderline, Hall of Fame type coaches.
Not borderline.
Yeah, not borderline. Hall of Fame coaches that you got there, and those type of players, it's an ongoing chess match. Everybody, you got guys sitting in the press box that are looking down and saying he's laid down a little bit. He's easy. The last 3 plays, he's taking it inside. He's playing this technique, that technique. He's on this shoulder. He's on that shoulder. You constantly mixing all that in, and you can make a snap decision and say, okay, hey, let's go with this. You know,
but Cox, you said something about Snoop that I really admire, and I think I've done it quite a few times. Is sometimes you just got to say the hell with the game plan, scramble, let's go.
Yeah, you got to look at what you got in front of you.
Not sure.
Injuries cause all that.
To me,
you sure, Coach? You sure?
Coaching on the X's and O's, but when you're able to scrap it,
Coach, you. One thing I know about you, that's how you got to be.
Some leadership, and you make it happen.
That's how you got to be the Commissioner Cox. You know the difference of what you're looking at. You wouldn't get that name loosely for no reason at all. You've been around enough championships, the little league level, the high school level, all your years of Dallas Cowboy, all your years of Big 12 Southwest Conference. You've seen it. You know what you're looking at. Guys that can adjust and guys that can do it.
We know it.
Yeah.
AB, appreciate it, man. I'm going to talk to you guys next week, man. Look forward to talking to you guys.
My main man, Controversial Cox, giving it to us like he is the commissioner of Oak Cliff, Texas. Tom Inman, championship, UIL, 5A state championship 2006, giving us his championship experience right here on the Lone Star Sports Show. Lady Life keeping us where we need to be with all of our graphics and all of the overall production of this show. And my main man, the engineer, pushes all the buttons and does what it's supposed to do. The Prince, Unequal Money himself, the man in many hats. And yours truly, Alan Branch. We'll be back. As my main man, Snoop Johnson, like to say, we at the top of the hour. Right back in 180 seconds. even trickier going out there to what the whole deal. It's a whole bunch of angles on this stuff. Hey, we right here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network, giving it to you like it is. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. Take a look and listen at FastSmallSports.com and see how they are leading us into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology. Well, Austin, Texas, come out, lose to Maryland right off the bat, 2 years in a row. Everybody's scrambling. That's one thing I love about the state of Texas. Losing is, we don't ever get comfortable. Is it different in other states? I mean, Coach, you win or they wear you out here in the state of Texas.
Well, you know, the difference to me, if I compare and contrast Chicago and down here, is we bitch and don't go, and you guys bitch and keep showing.
Yeah,
So it impacts our attendance. It doesn't impact yours.
Yeah.
You guys could be 2-14 2 years in a row, and Jerry would sell at the AT&T Stadium, and they would be tailgating at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, well, and we want to just go out there and keep on voicing our opinion and being in the middle of the ruckus and try to make it say what we think it is, and being a part of the process. I guess that's what that is. I definitely understand where you're coming from. There is a lot of truth to the fact that we just don't quit. But I tell you what, that thing has turned into a long term. We may be off the show and they be still playing baseball here. We get a chance to finish it up.
Well, there's a lot of passion in the Texas fans, and I think at the end of the day, the average fan is extremely knowledgeable, but then it often gets clouded by extreme emotionalism because we're all that way.
Well,
I mean, when I'm objective, I am crystal clear. I'm doing right from wrong, black and white, blah blah blah. Bring emotion in, everything gets shaken up. You know, that's how it is. I went bat crab crazy the other day when I watched the Bears fall apart against Miami. Just absolutely lost my mind.
Oh man, I didn't even
Just
realize
lost my mind. Oh, they suck. I'm so pissed off.
Slipped that one by me right there.
But my point being though that even the most rational person with the most loyal, the loyalties, the passionate loyalty from hell still is going to get a little weird sometimes when things get weird.
Yeah.
And I would say the Texas fans are a little more committed than the average because, this is the home of football. Say, like it or don't like it. Florida and California, you're not Texas. I got news for you, whoever's watching. You're not Texas. Get over it. Tap your hurt feelings.
Well, I mean, how many states other than Illinois? Illinois probably can't even say this. How many other states besides California? I'm not sure California can say this, but New York can say they have a state population of 26 to 28 million people.
Oh, that's you hit the nail on the head. It's pretty much just us in Cali.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick off the topic, just slightly. Did you hear about the judge out there that said that a show cause order is no longer legal in the state of California?
I did hear that.
So now, if in theory the Pac-12 schools can't belong to the NCAA because they can't be allowed by state law to agree to this crap, which everyone knows that that's nothing but an illegal blackball. They just gave it a new name. That was just kind of interesting. So I didn't mean to hijack
that's
the
a
topic.
very, very good point. We got some people coming in. Y'all tune in the next segment. We're going to have Dinos Trudonas that'll be coming in from out in California, in the L.A. area, talking about the camp that we had and past deals and state of college basketball and all the things that are going on. Could get really interesting. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to even deal with all of that. Going to try to talk about camp and what things are all about. I think we're going to take care of the kids first. It's funny, I'm thinking about this. This is what you're talking about, going on, thinking about things on the fly. I know how intense that the state of college basketball is going to be. So to give the kids their due, we're going to start out talking about the camp so we can get the kids in and then come back to that. And then that'll have Lady Life over here telling us y'all don't run out of time, and I'm getting ready to go and turn the switch off on y'all.
That's a great executive decision, Branch, I think, because what you're basically saying is let's be positive and deal with the part of the game that we should all be happy about, which is the kids, and then let's delve into the sordid mess over here called the adults who trash it out.
Right, yeah.
That's what's happening to this game.
So the kids deserve their due. They went out and played hard.
Don't tarnish the kids with all the crap the adults do.
Right, exactly.
Because kids are not supposed to be grown enough to know better right from wrong, but we are, and somehow we still don't do it.
Man, it's a heck of a deal. But one thing that really intrigues me about the in the Big 12 and the UT Longhorns and the situation of where they are there. I mean, a lot of people realize, okay, yeah, I got my hat here with the Astros. I'm an all things sports, all things Texas guy. But I went to school at the University of Texas, 1981. I was a freshman there, and thought it was a great situation, and still have a lot of respect for the institution as being, I guess you could say, our banner.
Flagship program,
right. Flagship school, here in the state of Texas. But when you break it down, they got a lot of tradition. They've had a lot of success. But here we are sitting here looking at this thing right now. When you look at they're 4-0, 6-1, lost one they probably shouldn't have lost. But a one-loss team in the Big 12 is not the same thing as a one-loss team in the SEC.
Well, and that's one of my. I'm going to steal the argument for just a second. They've got to go to 8 teams instead of 4 because you got 5 power conference teams. If you went to 8, you get 1 bid per conference and 3 at-larges, so you could invite the South Florida of the year.
I agree
because you're forced to take a one-loss SEC team and screw over Texas.
Yeah, well,
if Texas wins it out, they're still not going.
And
not with that Maryland loss. It's too big.
No, they can't get there. You know, I mean, but that brings us just like OU. If they would have stayed on track to where they were, they would be in a situation of where you would be, you know, potentially looking at how they could go about, you know, running the table.
Well, one of my questions about the NCAA football tournament, which I guess it is now, is we've had to rein back the NCAA from letting it grow too big. Remember that year where they were talking about doubling it up from 64 to 128?
Let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
The NCAA does not have anything to do with the so-called college football tournament, we'll call it.
The
college football championship. Even therefore, they don't have anything to do with it.
Who runs it?
The old BCS system got a new college something bowl or whatever championship bowl deal. Because what they did was they threatened, to mess about knowledge. Anybody willing to call in, email me and say you don't know what the hell you're talking about, Branch. But the best of my knowledge, I stay saturated in basketball, but the best of my knowledge is that when the NCAA wanted to start doing this, those Power 5 teams said, we don't need you. We can go run our own league. We make enough money. We have enough endorsements. We can run our own deal. So the only thing that they manage are the players' eligibility and following certain NCAA rules about recruiting and things of that nature. But the actual business side of the championship, like the NCAA tournament,
right?
So because this is one reason, the NCAA tournament is that's the NCAA's cash cow.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the only basketball.
Well, but
they don't make any money off of the bowl system.
Well, and I was wrong about the bowl system, but again, money is always the answer to every question. So even if it's not the NCAA running, I'm still surprised that the BCS doesn't want more than 4 because if you add 8, now you got 3 levels, 3 rounds. If you go to 16, you got 4 levels. If you go to 32, there's a natural greed that you almost have to pull back, and I'm really surprised they haven't pushed it forward.
But you haven't looked at the front side of that greed. You're actually right. The one word that you use, I don't know if greed is a fair word, but
it is.
It's a business word. The front end of it, these guys make so much money on the other side. And I've learned this in doing scheduling neutral site games with the Division I level. And when you're in the process of trying to run one of these processes, those guys are the amount of money that they make on the early side, the amount of money that Texas made by bringing Tulsa in for that one game right there in the second game of the year,
right? That
they had barely won by 28-21. Actually, in a dogfight, I think that may be when they.
That's the one where the kid missed 3 field goals. They should have lost.
Yeah, they had a chance to lose. Yeah. I don't know if they should have lost, but they had a chance to lose.
3 missed field goals, you lose.
Right, you had a great chance to lose after coming off a loss to Maryland. But here's my point, Tom. The point of it is that the reason why that back end struggle is so hard because you got to look at the revenue generated right here, and think about the year. Think about the year that Texas football had Maryland at home, and they had somebody else doing this right here. How much money do you think they made between those 2 games? I mean, I'm not asking for a number. I'm just looking for
$40 million. I mean, I get that point,
but they can't make it up when they come back over here on the backside in the bowl situation. The amount that would go to the university, they can't make it up over there.
Right, but again, I still don't understand why the BCS isn't greedy enough to want to add an extra layer because
they can't. All I'm saying they might want to, but they got to get these guys to commit to.
Why won't they?
Because of that money that they're losing, they would stand to lose right there.
So you're saying that if they add a playoff game, they have to take a game off.
There you go.
That's what I misunderstood. Yeah, okay, right, the front end meaning you lose a game. I understand that. Yeah. It's like if you ask the average person, should we play 82
If we make X number of dollars a show here a night, and somebody wants us to cancel one of these shows and come do it at their place, the money over there going to make more sense than the money it makes here.
Well, what about the NBA season? Everyone knows
potential money or growth may have to make more. Go ahead.
Everyone knows that 82 games is ridiculous in basketball and 162 is ridiculous in baseball. But what NBA owner's giving up one of his 41 revenue days?
Yeah, exactly. But those are professional sports, and these are constrained by the fact that these kids are in school,
right?
Even though they may be, forms of dedicated athletes.
But again, you only got 5 revenues. You got 5 nights of revenue there, and if you give up 1 night, you got 4 nights. That's a 20% reduction.
And one thing that these institutions are serious about, and in fact, scheduling neutral site games once again, is that final exam window is sacred.
Yeah.
Those ADs do not mess with those chancellors and presidents about what's going on. They got rules.
You lose your administrative support if you do that.
Oh, yeah.
If you thumb your nose at the whole rules and say the hell with it, we do what we want to do.
Yeah, like they don't travel. I mean, I can tell you about all kind of things along that line. They won't compromise that situation. So that's what keeps that from happening. But while we got a couple more seconds here, the Longhorns are sitting here in a situation. They've been bumped all the way up to number 6 or 7 in the polls right now. But here's the challenge right here. How do they get? We're gonna go 30 seconds over. You got Oklahoma State. You got to go in there at a night game. That's dangerous.
It's always cold up there at night.
Yeah, West Virginia is great. Nothing is crazier than going to Lubbock, Texas. I don't care what you're doing.
There might be a snowstorm. There could be a windstorm, a sandstorm.
It is just a peculiar place. It's like being in the Pac-12 and going to Colorado to play in that dark gym. There's just a mystique around there that when you get off the bus, you're already down by 8.
Right.
It's just a weird,
Iowa
awkward
State's
place.
dangerous.
Iowa State's dangerous, in a situation like this. Obviously, if they can get to the Kansas, they got.
If they lose to Kansas, they will fire the whole crew. Are you kidding me?
Well, but no, that's the whole deal. But the Longhorns, hey, we're proud of y'all getting that big win. Tom Irwin, keep on driving them in the right way. All things sports, all things Texas. Those guys down there in the capital of Texas, Austin, Texas, the UT Longhorns moving up in the standings and bouncing back from that rough win against Maryland and a struggle against Tulsa, and have finally got the rhythm going. And guess what? They are using Colin Johnson and little Jordan Humphrey. Goes back to what I told my main man, Honey the Prince. You got to use the studs if you want to win. No pros, no championships. Back in 180 seconds, we're going to dive into some basketball Thursday on Tuesday night. Hey, here we are at the Lonestar Sports Show right here on the Lonestar Sports Network in the great sport of Texas. Our tagline, as always, has been, always will be, all things sports, all things Texas. Got 2006 UIL state champion Tom Emmon, my co-host here, giving us a championship feel and tapping with his championship ring on the table and keeping us where we need to be. And Lady Life, our producer, doing what it needs does, and my main man, Honey Money, the engineer, and wears many hats around this camp, and the get it done guy, and yours truly, Alan Branch. But right now, we're blessed to have and excited to have one of my longtime professional friends and buddies and partners in the process, we'll call it. Some people say partners in crime. I call it partners in the process. We've been, I think, Dinos Trigonis and I have known each other for roughly, about 17 years, I guess. That sounds about right to me, Coach.
I lost track, man.
Yeah, it kind of gets away from you. When we first started going to Southern California, and just give us a little bit of your resume, number of years, your summer team, your scouting service. A lot of people don't realize your background, and correct me if I'm wrong. You started out in law, so litigation and being an attorney in the legal industry was your first love, and basketball was your last love. Is that right?
Yeah. I kind of got started about 1993 with events and teams. A Belmont short team was 1993, and my very first event was in the fall of that year. That was back in the days where the men's side of the recruiting calendar was still live, and had an event in Long Beach City College with several good players, one of which was a young high school sophomore from Inglewood High School, Paul Pierce.
Okay, right.
As a high school sophomore, and Chris Johnson, Marcus Johnson's son, Tremaine Folks, who went to Cal, was in the NBA for a few years, and things kind of mushroomed and created a MLK high school event. I think it was at that time was the first ever single day shootout type event in California. And we used to play that over at UCLA's Pauley Pavilion, and had some great matchups with the Dominguez versus Crenshaw, Dominguez versus Westchester there.
Good players.
For a couple years.
Really, really good players in
the late 1990s, and had some big crowds of 7,000 or 8,000, and that kind of kept growing. And in 2003 was the apex of it. We had LeBron James come in to play Modern Day on ESPN2, which sold out the place. Probably the only time in the last 30 years that a high school event in California that was probably a non sectional or state final ever had a crowd of 12,000, 13,000 in California.
And where did you play that event?
That was at UCLA's Pauley Pavilion.
Okay, all right.
That was the 2003. That's when LeBron James came to LA and played Modern Day.
So you
UCLA.
Hey, Magic Johnson brought him the second time, but Dino Trodinos brought LeBron James to California the first time. Is that right?
Yes, I actually got it for a whole lot cheaper than Magic did.
I see you did. I'm sure you did, man. Well, we all know about Pangos Camp. It goes on every weekend after Memorial Day. Is that right, or before? Before, after?
Yeah, it goes to the weekend. It's traditionally been the weekend after Memorial Day.
Right.
It falls either on the first weekend in June or the overlap May to June weekend. And first one there started out also in 2003, and first one Kyle Lowry, still playing in the NBA with the Raptors, and Robert Swift, who was a lottery pick, and Darrell Wright. Played the NBA with Miami Heat. He's got a ring there, and things kind of developed from there to the John Wall, the Brandon Jennings, the DeMar DeRozans, Ben Simmons.
That's when those are probably about a few years before that. I guess I started really getting ingrained in the Pangos Camp in 2007. Chris Walker had a group of kids that he brought out to it, and we were in between. Mark Turgeon taking a job in elite camp at Texas A&M and Pangos Camp that same weekend. And I can remember Mark Turgeon being really, really upset trying to figure out when you were going to let the kids go so they could come back to elite camp. I don't know if more.
Yeah, actually, Chris used to bring out kids for a number of years. And I think he might have been there the year where I think I might have been the only camp in the history of camps that had not only two future NBA MVPs in the same camp, in James Harden and Russell Westbrook,
That's
but
right.
they were also playing on the same camp team.
Yeah, tell them about Russell Westbrook then, and Russell Westbrook now, like they know him now. tell him the guy that we were looking at as a high school player, athlete, speedy, taking a scholarship, going to UCLA right there in your city. Give our listeners a little understanding about how he.
Yeah, Russell was a quintessential late bloomer. Obviously, he's about 6'3" now, or 6'3" plus. Probably in high school was anywhere from 6 foot to 6'2" in there. He's kind of scrawny, hadn't physically developed. I don't remember him having those kind of highlights, attacking the rim like a helicopter in high school. But he developed kind of late, and I kind of tell the story all the time. And I joke with his high school coach about it, who's now an assistant at Pepperdine, Reggie Morris, who coached at various high schools in the LA area. His dad was a very successful coach at Manual Arts High School, Reggie Senior, Manual Arts, and also LA Southwest College. And so Reggie asked me to put him in the camp. He wasn't that time. I don't believe he was nationally ranked or on anybody's top 100 list, and going into his senior year, and put him in the camp. And I don't believe he made any All-Star games that year. He was a good player. And
what about listeners are listening to that?
Yeah,
I think he was. I don't believe he made any All-Star games, from my recollection. The only thing we do have, the only proof that we have in the camp, there was an article by somebody that took a picture of him, and then there's some. About 5 years ago, there's some video that surfaced from a parent of a player who happened to be playing on the same camp team as Harden and Westbrook, but then put it on Facebook. Somehow I became aware of it. And this kid now is, I forgot where he went to college, but he didn't play pro, but he actually has video proof of him being on the court at the same time on the same camp team as Harden and Westbrook. So yeah, I'm sure he probably shows that. That
was when the parents had those little grunky camcorder things they were walking around with, and they were filming. And there was roughly, the internet had not invaded the basketball grassroots summertime. I don't know, you and I probably didn't even have websites at that time. That's how far that goes.
Yeah,
back.
there were a few guys that did video. Guys like Alan Utter, who was associated with the Hoop Scoop, who for many years took video of the Nike All-American camp in Indianapolis, and he had a lot of footage of Corey Benjamin and and Ronnie Fields and guys like that at those camps. Where they did those guys. Back then, it was more full-length video, home video game.
Game.
It wasn't really any. Wasn't much editing or highlights. No highlights, no editing, no music. It was just raw footage of games or dunk contests or things of that nature. And I think Allen was one of the few guys that would film, and I think Ronnie Flores has a lot of those game films from those old Nike camps in the early, late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, up in that era, in that period of time.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that does a heck of a job covering high school sports. I mean, high school basketball. He's the only person I feel like that goes to the extent that he goes at discussing and breaking down everything that comes along with
Ronnie graduated from University of California Santa Barbara in journalism and worked for Student Sports Magazine for several years.
Okay.
And also ESPN High School as well. And he comes from a very traditional background in writing and reporting and journalism, compared to a lot of guys some of these guys are, as are just fans that get into write, and they don't have any really formal education as far as journalism or things of that nature. But Ryan really takes pride in what he does and works really hard at being accurate. And then he does the Fab 50 high school team rankings every year, as you know. And it takes him several months of research and talking to people to compile that. He does a very thorough job, and he's really focused and intent on getting the information he needs to do the best job possible. He's constantly getting information from people and searching the web for information on teams all over the country.
I mean, he'll get up at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock Central Time on the West Coast and have an hour-long conversation about the personnel that's at the different high schools. These branches, I know you keep up with the players, and he'll inject that into it and come up with what he calls a top, regardless of class, preseason projections of what he's saying about Texas high school basketball. He does it. Actually, I think we're going to have him on in the next week or so talking about that, the whole process. This weekend we're going to be doing the UIL on that. But let's go around and give these kids, I mean, we always like to show up because we're going to talk about some other things when we come back from the break, and we'll be able to line up on it. But we want to talk about how Pango's All-American Camp evolved into Pango's South, Pango's West, Pango Central. I'm not sure if it's the Pango's East, which are pretty much your satellite camps that move back toward this situation, how you were comfortable in moving in. There's the relationships. How did you get into these other areas? Because we know the West Coast is your main domain. You're a national guy. We're in a national camp. And how did you find your way, and what gave you the idea, and how's all that going? And then we're going to talk about
once we started the national camp, I had started the West Coast version of this along with my good friend and colleague Eito Udoema, who runs the Compton Magic program. Mm-hmm. We had started together. We've continued to run it, the West Coast version together for up until now.
Right.
And that was very good. I think at that time, my recollection holds that it may have been the first camp of its kind, especially in the West Coast,
right,
that focused only on freshmen, sophomores. And the timing of the year was no coincidence for us either, because I think the fall time is a great time to start looking or pivoting toward younger kids.
The younger generation. That's when we're trying to figure out and evaluate that. When we come back from the break, we want to bring in back to Dinos, and Dinos is going to break us down and continues to show us how this process has evolved and what it's all about, what we're looking from, all the scouting entities that were involved in this past weekend, freshman, sophomore, Pango's Camp South, right there at Drive Nation facility right there in Dallas, Texas at DFW Airport. We're back in 180 seconds with more of your Lone Star Sports Show. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment was brought to you by Hartem Hotels. Go take a look at HartemHotels.com and see how you can put your money where you sleep. Back with more. Dinos Rodonas right there out of California. My main man, Tom Inman, Lady Life, Uneven Money, and yours truly, Alan Branch, right back in 180 seconds. Right back here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. All things sports, all things Texas. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. We have Dinos Rodonas right here out of Southern California, the great city of L.A., where it never rains and every day is a good day. Right there next to Hollywood, UCLA, USC, What else do y'all have as a landmark there? Sunset Boulevard.
We got Disneyland, Laguna Beach, Universal Studios.
Universal Studios. There you go.
Pasadena, City of Roses, Pasadena Rose Parade, Rose Bowl.
Hey, that's the attitude of a Texan right there. That's the way we do things down here in Texas. We can tell you what we got, what we do, and how long we've been doing it, and how good we are at it. And right now we got Dinos, who's been doing this a long time, and it's shown that he's pretty good at it with all the names he brought. So tell me, Coach, okay, we talk about it. Yeah, we're basketball scouts. We get into the fall of the year. We're trying to figure out the younger kids and trying to tighten up our scouting reports and rankings and trying to find new prospects. That's the one thing I always like about going to your deal. And when you decided to go to the regional deal, how does a guy come from California, and what do you have? You have a Pangos Freshman Southwest, a Pangos Freshman South. Do you have an East and a Midwest, or what else is it?
Yeah. The Midwest is next week in Chicago, and the East Coast is the week after in South Jersey, Philadelphia area.
That's covering the basketball map. You go pretty much from Georgia back to Texas, New Mexico. Then you do the Midwest all up with Chicago. You get that over there. I mean, you got it covered there. And when you compare the nature of the environments, tell me what's different. Because you've done about, at least, I know you've been coming here for about 4 or 5 years with the Pangos.
Yeah, I was in Georgia for the South for maybe 5 years before that. So the original South campus started in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I decided to move it to, and there was a lot of talent in Atlanta. I started to move it to, decided to move it to Texas, and actually it turned out even better because the depth of talent in Texas is actually even better than that Atlanta area. Though Atlanta for a while was very, very good, still is. And then the Chicago area, obviously the Midwest, I started off in Indianapolis, and Chicago became more of a central location for the Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Iowa kids. They became a little more centralized. And I kind of trial there in the East Coast, found a really good facility in South New Jersey, right across from Philadelphia. That's pretty proximate to everything too. So, to make a long story short, I think by coaching AAU for a long time and going to tournaments like Bob Gibbons, tournament champions, and Arizona Cactus Classic and Real Deal and The Rock and other tournaments, I obviously got to meet a lot of people from all over the country. And then those people ended up being references and resources for my All-American camp for a while. And it was kind of a natural outgrowth to kind of go regionally and to kind of get an early look at some of the younger kids regionally. And it kind of started from there where not only does it help us identify potential kids down the road from my camp, it helps us, guys like Van Coleman and Frank Burleson, Clark Francis, and others, both nationally and regionally, identify up-and-coming young kids in those areas. Because if you remember, Terrence Ferguson came to my camp as a freshman.
We're right there in Louisville, Texas, right?
And Max Sports in Louisville, Texas.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you somebody else that was at that camp. You probably don't even remember. Andrew Jones.
Yeah.
Was another kid.
Tons of guys.
Yeah. So let me.
Yeah, my recollection is Terrence was not only wasn't known by guys like me and Frank. At that time, I don't think he was known by a lot of regional guys either. Because
he was an Oklahoma kid that had just come in and played with homeschool and had never played any high school, and he had been with a little small organized team that didn't show up. We knew of this athletic kid from Tulsa, Oklahoma, that his mother took around. I could, go farther around. But believe it or not, the Pango South Camp at the MAC in Louisville was his coming out party, along with Andrew Jones, and I can go down a list of other kids. But would you say that the years of traveling to the national team grassroots events, all the, you look at the relationship that you have with a Gary Charles and how we used to be back in the old days, ABCD. And the other thing is how much of a throwback it is to have Mitch Malone and John Urey coaching in the All-Star game. The young guys don't know what we're talking about, but you and I can go on that one forever.
That was like a blast out of the past.
No doubt. No doubt. The millennials are kind of sitting there talking about, man, two old dudes. What are they talking about those guys, you know? But those are guys that had their error and were proven in the business. And I was really excited about you selecting those guys to coach the deal. I think it brings back a sense of flavor and tradition and history that's necessary in the business. And along those lines.
Yeah, it's very too often a lot of these kids don't understand the history of the grassroots. And actually, I just saw a tweet today, believe it or not, that this trial going on in New York City, and Dan Wetzel was referencing a news conference or interview with Mike Krzyzewski about the trial. Mike Krzyzewski, to paraphrase him, from what I saw, tried to claimed asked him how he felt about it, and Mike kind of acted as if what's going on doesn't reflect.
Well,
like, small part.
Like you didn't even know there was a trial going on, huh? Yeah, I kind of heard about that one in the book.
Yeah, very small part. But Dan tried to call Krzyzewski out on him about it. And then how you say you're wrong, Mike, this and that.
So he went St. Michael on him, huh? St. Michael of Krzyzewski.
Yeah, well, I actually had to respond to Dan Wetzel. I said, Dan, they're just talking about this stuff may be good for selling books and attracting eyeballs, but when you really look at the overall realm of grassroots basketball from the entire Division I, what's going on in New York City reflects less than 1% of grassroots hoops that involves players, high school coaches, AAU coaches, parents, college coaches. It's not the norm. It's the exception to the norm. It's great for sensational TV, and it's great for radio, and it's great for news.
But it represents about 5%, Coach. You got roughly we're going to say 1,300 scholarships that are awarded every year in Division I basketball, just as an average. And when you look at that average, we're only talking about, 15 or 20 of those 1,300 have even any remote opportunity of being involved in any kind of activity of what's going on.
Exactly.
That's my point.
How many of those guys really have value? Say you put the number as high as 50. Say 50 kids every year. As a percentage of the top, forget about just the scholarship kids, about the other kids who are on the bubble that have a chance that maybe they fall on the no scholarship part of the bubble. Right. It's very, and Krzyzewski was right. It is minute. It is minute, but by trying to make it look like if everybody's doing it, it really hurts the kids who are on the bubble that are just trying to get a scholarship.
It hurts it all the way across the board of them even having to be subjected to what's going on here. And it really is sad. And we're going to get to that. We've got roughly about 20 more minutes of show, 3 minutes of commercial. So we got 17 more minutes. And before we go back, we're going to talk about the state of college basketball. We got Dinos here. And you got to realize that you're listening. I'm hearing Dinos' numbers and put it together. You're listening to almost 60 years of grassroots basketball. And then we turn in and throw coaches 30 years. You got almost 100 years of youth basketball on the line, on the show right now. Uneven Money has about 3 or 4 years going on now. And we give him his playing years too. We might get him up to 5 or 6. So we've got a valued opinion here of people who have seen this progress, guys that have coached pros, McDonald's All-Americans, been involved in the whole gamut of the whole process, really telling you like it actually is. But before we go there, when we come back from the break, right now I want you to give me, without any elaboration, give me your top 3 2021s and your top 3 2022s before we go to the break. And we're going to chop it up during the break. And then when we come back, I'm going to give mine and Ernie's going to give his. Tom wasn't there to chime in, but he is familiar with some of the kids because he coached in the area. And we're going to talk about the kids, and we're going to turn around and move back into the area of the state of what we're looking at right now and the grassroots landscape and climate, and how is this hurting our kids and the business of what's going on. You got Dinos Tradinos right here live on the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Tom Emmerman, 2006 UIL 5A state champion of right there in Austin, Texas in 2006. Lady Life, keeping us where we need to be. Uneven Money, And yours truly, Alan Branch, making it do what it does. We back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Y'all stay chimed in. We come back this next round. We're going to break this thing all the way down into the players that did well and where we actually are. Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. More Dinos Rodinos right there with the Pangos All-American Camp, Belmont Shores, the Hollywood City on the West Coast. Dinos! Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network, making it do what it does. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment is brought to you by the Hall of Famer Robert Hughes Showcase that'll be located there in November on the Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving, the first annual. The only Hall of Famer that we have right now, active live Hall of Famer, not active coaching anymore, but living in here as a Hall of Famer in the state of Texas.
Where's that event being held? Is it going to be at Wilkerson?
Wilkerson Grimes Gym. That's right there on Interstate 20.
Oh, man.
We have two great events. We'll have more college coaches and more national media and more prospects in the state of Texas, along with the Hoop Fest that'll be going on. This is in this 10th year, led by Glenn Smith there at Duncanville High School. So it'll be another hot weekend Yeah, but speaking of hot weekends, we're talking Pango South, freshman sophomore camp. Who goes first? We need to flip a coin. Are you ready to go first, Dinos? Who caught your attention? You know, I know my young man over there, Onion Money and the Prince, is always ready to throw history out. He's been studying all night and all day for this opportunity. Want to let the young fella go
I'll
first?
be honest, there was a smorgasbord plethora of talent. The wings are outstanding, a lot of great size. I would have to say, obviously, to the top of the list would be Arthur Kaluma and KJ Adams, who both got MVPs. So Arthur out of Universal Academy in Capel, Texas, got the overall camp MVP.
And you don't know anything about the TCAL League, but I was going to let you know Arthur Kaluma is one of the younger talents in the TCAL League, Texas Christian Athletic League. You'll know more about that. You'll be calling us, wanting us to come visit you out there in Southern California.
And a good thing about Arthur too, Alan, is he's been at the camp since the 8th grade, and his progress year to year has been tremendous. If he can keep that up, we're looking at a very excellent high major player with the potential to play at the high level above. And then KJ, both him and KJ had 17 in an All-Star game. KJ was the MVP of the All-Star game out of Austin Westlake. Those two kids obviously were fantastic. Third guy I would have to put would be probably one of the big guys, Lee Dort out of Bethany Christian in Plano, or maybe even Onu Samuel Ayomini out of Texas Christian. He's used to the 7-footer, who I thought did a great job protecting the rim. And there was other bigs like Jarrell Calvert, who had great potential, and David Dixon out of Memphis, Tennessee. I believe Memphis is offered him. And let's see who else here. Devin Barnes, little guard out of law school in Oklahoma. Were outstanding too, but we had a lot of great freshmen. The freshmen maybe harder to distinguish. Obviously, Trey White was terrific.
Alan Branch is #1 player in the state of Texas in the 2022 class right now. Is probably.
And then also, I would put in the 2022, I would put Colin Smith in there.
Okay.
Latrell Moore was fantastic out of Willow Ridge. Harrison Ingram. I heard this guy offered by Kansas today. He's a terrific student. I think he told me he had a 3.83 GPA during the camp. Stanford called me, asked me how he was doing. He's terrific. Another kid out of Houston, John Urey brought.
Josh Farmer.
Josh Farmer. I think he's 2022, I believe.
2021
as
right,
well.
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah,
I put him also in the other. Put him right there for that third spot. His upside is terrific. I think he's out of Sharpstown, I believe.
That's correct.
And then Jordan Walsh, I really like. A Faith family out of Cedar Hill.
Oh yeah.
And then he's terrific too. Jace Wilson was great, and Noah Shelby, nice looking guard, and Chris Marshall.
Chris Marshall.
Marshall.
Yeah. Chris Marshall is a top 5 2022 kid in the state of Texas, and 5 state. We had a really good, you're right on all the guys that I'm on at the same time. With Sam Onu, the 7-foot rim protector from down at he's a TCAL kid also.
Yeah, Houston Christian.
Houston Christian right there in Cypress, Texas.
And now I believe those 30 guys in that top All-Star game, I would have to believe that at least 15 are high major or have potential to be high majors.
I don't have it right in front. I got pictures of it. I
would agree with that.
Yeah, it could be just a little bit higher than that when you look at both of those deals. I mean, obviously, it's not fair to you, Dinos, with you coming in and getting a glimpse of them, and us sitting here and dealing with them on a regular basis. Yeah. When you look at those 60 guys, and what we saying, y'all saying what 20 of them were in between both All-Star teams?
I'm saying out of the 15. Top 30 guys, it looks like about at least 15 are either high major or have high major potential. Chris Marshall, Noah Shelby just got offered by TCU, Kaluma, Colin Smith, KJ Adams, Latrell Moore, Josh Farmer, Harrison Ingram, Nick Smith, Trey Alexander, Trey Blake, Keontae George, fantastic. One of the best guards there, period.
Right.
Jordan Walsh, Trey White, Karen Williams at Arkansas, Colbert, Christian Green out of Plano West was terrific. The Lebanese kid is terrific too. The kid Zambia.
Yeah.
He's good.
So,
Mason Miller,
yeah.
Mike Miller's son.
Right.
Jaden Jones is good.
So you got
Jason Wilson owner.
You got 30 kids there, and we started out at 15 high majors. I think when we can check, we always enjoy doing this, but when you turn around and break this thing down and look back at it when it's all said and done,
and I think about 10 from that top 60 game.
Yeah, top 60 game. You're gonna turn back around
about 10 to 12,
because we had the kid Mohammed that made the top 60 game. You know, I kind of stay away from all that. It used to be a time I used to get down and help Dinos plow through all of that, but
Damian Collins,
yeah,
Atlanta, Texas.
The whole situation of how all of that's going. You know, I think one of the sneaky guys in all of this is the Nunez kid from San Antonio.
Austin.
Yeah, could turn into
good too.
Yeah,
there's probably 3 to 5 guys in the top 60 game.
Yeah,
that could end up being high major. One of which is the kid out of where's his name?
Muhammad from Texas Christian is a no-brainer. I tell you another kid.
And some of those, and also David of the 8th grader, David Oyona, 6'11", out of Oklahoma.
Yeah, out of Oklahoma.
Madison Peaster out of
Arkansas. Casey Wallace too.
Yeah,
I believe just got offered by somebody.
Right.
TCU.
Yeah.
TCU.
Yeah. You turn back around and you throw it back over on the kid that was from New Mexico that I liked. 108 was his number.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Sean Johnson, yeah.
Sean Johnson. Yeah, there he is right there. Sean Johnson has him listed at only a 6'3". He was bigger than 6'3". Very seldom. We only see the kids from the rural areas that put their 8th grade height down. All the rest of the city boys always want to exaggerate theirs. But that was a true kid. He reminded me of a young Samuel Williamson is what he reminded me of. But, you know, there were a lot of guys. So we started out on a 15 projection. I'm going to say mid plus to high, which Dinos, you know, it can be a real tricky area. You could end up, you know, in a West Coast Conference kid, could also be a Pac-12 kid, or could be a Mountain West kid. So when you say Power 7, Power 8, I would say in the All-Star game, there were probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 kids that were playing the top 7 conferences in the country. Anybody think I'm exaggerating?
Yeah, I can say more 35 to 42.
Could you see that, Dinos?
Yeah.
What?
Plus, another thing, we had a lot of size this year, Alan. As you know, even those big kids in the top 60 game, many of them were raw, but they have potential. Yeah, right. Down the road.
Right. Yeah, they just because of the size and getting comfortable with the size, the Clayton Whites and and some guys of that nature that were there. Those big kids are never going to bloom that early and be that functional in a camp environment like that. A lot of people don't understand what it takes to be successful. Motor is the number one key thing in an exposure camp, your motor. The second most key thing is your ability to rebound the basketball. Those two things will take you farther in camp than anything else. You know, we think skill, high IQ, making the right pass is not a bad thing, but you still have to follow that up with constant motor. Because if your motor and your rebound is not right, you're going to find your way on the outside looking in camp games. And I say that to the prospects and the parents that are wondering why their kid is talented and maybe didn't do well in the camp. If you don't play hard in the camp and you don't run every time and you don't rebound and you don't compete every time, then you can't. There's no room for standing around in a camp.
Well, I've had players of mine that go to these camps or they play in all-state games or whatever, all-star games, and they'll complain about, I'm getting frozen out of the ball. Just shut up and rebound. They can't stop you from doing that. That's you.
That's the
Just
number.
Shut up and play, man.
Rebounding is the equal opportunity of basketball. Ain't that right, Dinos?
Oh, yeah.
Motor-driven. It's all motor-driven.
Everybody.
Rodman's a great example.
Alan, quick story about Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza played on perhaps the most loaded L.A. Westchester team of all time, back-to-back Nashville champions, back-to-back City of Palms champions, back-to-back California state champions. And he actually was a year behind the core group of that team. Trevor Ariza did not start as a high school sophomore. And his junior year, they had returned the entire starting lineup from the year before, who were all juniors and now seniors. And he wasn't going to start on that team until the coach had to get a little creative and keep him from not transferring by posing in a GPA rule for starter. It took one guy who ended up going to San Diego State on the bench to start the year. But he didn't get a lot of points or things run for him at that time. And one of the best advice he got was one of his trainer said, "Hey man, if you want points in this team, you better get on the glass.
Go to the glass.
Run the floor, put backs." And most of his scoring was off rebounds.
And that just lifts everything up. I mean, and you're getting it right here from Dinos. I mean, there's never enough time because you got way too much. How can you squeeze 100 years of success and experience into a 12-minute, 12-minute segments? There's no way we can get it done, Dinos. They're telling me we are running out of time.
Okay, no, we'll do it again. We'll do it again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having Ronnie on soon. We're going to talk some national high school basketball or actually – the crazy thing about it, Ronnie knows more about high school basketball than some guys here in Texas high school basketball than some of the guys because he does his homework. And he's one of the partners in the process out there on the West Coast with Dino Stradonis. There at Belmont Shores. You can see his teams there. You can follow him on Twitter at the Pangos All-American and also at Dino Stradonis right there and everything they do. We appreciate you coming down. We're going to figure out a way to swap this thing out. We may have to come out there to California and do some things out that way, but we have definitely provided an environment that's conducive to the kids' success in the process when you look at all that we've done. So we appreciate everything that you provide and everything you do and keeping an open communication in. We know there's so much more about what's going on in the college basketball business right now and which way is this going to go, how is this hurting our kids. I wish you all luck on some of the things that we weren't able to talk about tonight, but we're going to continue to support. We're probably going to look at a time or opportunity when it fits, maybe when things get a little bit more solid with what the NCAA is going to do, and then we actually know what the stance and what we're looking at in 2019 of how this recruiting calendar stuff is going to go. But thank you so much for coming on, Dinos, and we had Jimmy Hicks on the other day, and continuously have people on. We're going to have a Hall of Famer, a part of our things going on, a retired NBA player that's coming Thursday. So everything on Basketball Thursday will be live. Everybody go get ready for Hump Day and get ready to do what it does right here on the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. We'd like to continuously thank the retired champ. We put him over there with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier and that group over there. He'll kind of ride around and let it do what it does.
He made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Uneven Money, Lady Life, and yours truly, Alan. And most of all, we had the commissioner, the Oak Cliff commissioner, Controversial Cox, doing what he does, and Dino Stradonis right here closing it all out on the Lone Star Sports Show with a great camp and everything's going on. We'll be back. Y'all go get it in on the hump. Back on Basketball Thursday with more Lone Star Sports Show.